9 in that game. As you see Metsu with that cast on his wrist. And Lonnie Walker, the fourth, next to him.
It's funny though, Matt, you know, as we focus on some of the players that are actually in this game, one guy yesterday that intrigued me was Amina Brima, you know, for the San Antonio Spurs. And that, again, another long body, very active defensively, and a rim protector. And he liked to challenge shots. And, you know, for the Phoenix Suns, you got Mikal Bridges, their first-round pick, who was taken 10th overall and then moved over to Phoenix in a trade with Philadelphia. As we see him put up his first shot. Not the most positive first shot, but you know, we'll look to see how he develops here, probably being a featured player.
And Prima had 6 blocks here yesterday against Milwaukee in the loss to the Bucks. He and Mitchell Robinson, who we just saw in our last game, each had 6 blocks yesterday. Robinson followed up with 5 today. So we'll see if Prima can match him as Dragan Bender knocks down the 3. Bender in his 3rd summer league now, after averaging 6.5 points per game last year in his 2nd year in the league.
You know, 3 years may sound like a long time, but you have to remember his first summer league, he was 18 years old.
Yeah, he was the youngest player in the draft that year.
So he's still in that stage where he's developing. I do like the fact his body, Bender that is, his body's changed a little bit, gotten a little bit bigger. He seemed awful thin coming in, you know, that first year.
Missed there by Jack Cooley, and you may have heard the reaction from the crowd. He is a favorite here in Las Vegas, and today ties a Vegas Summer League record. We'll share with you in a few moments, just by appearing on the floor today.
I cannot wait to hear what that record is.
Well, you don't have to wait long, because he tied Deontay Christmas by playing in his 32nd Vegas Summer League game. He's been here 6 years in a row now. And Jack Cooley making a little history here. They were chanting MVP for him here in the building the other day as he was at the free throw line.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I think Las Vegas ought to give Mr. Cooley the key to the city.
Oh, that would be. And you know they've got a cool key, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like a bunch of jewels on it, gilded. Here's Cooley, or there's Bender, excuse me, for 3. He is a stretch 5, Dragan Bender. That's a big part of his game moving forward. And Cooley, as Bryman gets the dunk, Cooley seems to see this distinction as a badge of honor and a privilege. He said, look, we paid a lot of money to come hang out in really nice hotels and play basketball.
Did he really say that?
It's not a bad deal, really. You eat well, stay in 5-star hotels.
That's a classic. Welcome back, Mr. Cooley.
He's a Summer League staple. He has played 23 NBA games over his career, including 7 last season with the Sacramento Kings. Really good player for years out of Notre Dame, just a little undersized for a power forward, and maybe not a perfect fit in today's NBA. Rugged player, set a G League record with 29 rebounds in a game back in 2015. 29.
It's interesting.
That's a lot of boards.
Can he make a shot?
He can make a rebound. Shot 48% last season in his limited time with Sacramento. He can make nearly half his shots.
Well, we'll see how he does here against Mr. Brima.
Cooley's a big body. He's not the long body of Brima. Shaquille Harrison knocks it down. Been a good assist man here for the Suns, averaging 6.5 so far.
He actually leads the team in assists, but you know, Shaquille Harrison played in 23 games for the Suns last year. He averaged 6 points and 2.7 rebounds, almost 2.5 assists. So he has some experience that maybe some other guys in this game don't.
Trey McKinney-Jones fouled on his way to the rim by Cooley. McKinney-Jones, 27, he'll turn 28 next month, out of Miami. 36 games last year in the G League with Fort Wayne, averaging 12 a game. Another one of the journeymen you see in multiple summer leagues, trying to find his spot. Devon Reed kicks it out. It'll get to Bender. Bender puts it on the floor that time and threw it away. London Ferrantes handles excellent college player out of Virginia. Played on a two-way deal with the Cavaliers last season. Shot off the back rim by Raphael Putney, and back the other way.
Who was that man again?
Rima. It's Rima at both ends, and that's what you want out of your 7-footer. A shot block on one end and running the floor and beating everybody down the other way for a dunk.
We talked about him at the front end. That's his game.
Amina
Brima. Take it home, big fella.
Welcome back to Las Vegas and the consolation game between the Phoenix Suns and San Antonio Spurs. And where yesterday, Lonnie Walker left in the final minutes of the fourth quarter in a matchup with Milwaukee with a right ankle injury. Even though he was able to put weight on it and walk back to the locker room, he would not return to the game. I spoke with a member of the Spurs staff. He told me that Lonnie was evaluated by their trainers, and it's a grade 1 sprain. Now, we're not going to see him play anymore in Vegas, guys, but this is not an injury that's going to affect him long term. I also spoke with Lonnie prior to the game, and he told me that he would tell me otherwise, but smiled and said he's feeling fine.
Well, Kristen, we hope that Lonnie Walker does heal quickly. He's had a pretty solid summer league and terrific talent for the Spurs in many years to come. So,
18th overall pick, Lonnie Walker, the 4th. See Drew Eubanks into the game wearing number 25. Can't connect there. There's Putney defending, another long defender. Comes in for Brima. Raphael Putney, same sort of physical profile. Long, lean defender. Not as tall, 6'10", but quick to intercept that pass.
Yeah, good anticipation by Putney. Got to see him use his length a little bit. Grant is trying to reward him.
And he'll try the three. It's off the mark. Back come the Phoenix Suns.
Nice move, nice jump hook there by Tayo Diassi.
Maverick Rowan tees up a three. Won't go. Dragan Bender moving without the ball, and an easy two for Bender. Bender with 5 points now. Suns up 7-5. First quarter on a Friday in Vegas. We are? Okay. Welcome back to Las Vegas. 7-5. Suns on top of the Spurs. Mark Jackson taking in the action.
Mama, there goes that man.
There goes that man. Part of the NBA Finals broadcast crew. Spoke to Mike Breen earlier this week. Mark's here. I think Jeff Van Gundy was here. I've not seen him, but I've heard of a JVG sighting. Olivier Hanlon has it, wearing number 7 in black for the Spurs. This is Eubanks. Ledbetter with the floater. Wouldn't fall. Back come.
Well, I like the ball movement there,
Suns.
Matt, by the Spurs. You know, the result wasn't what they wanted, but coming out of a timeout, that's the type of movement that you want to have.
George King, their second round pick of the Suns, wearing number 8, and those goggles, has it. Challenging Eubanks, won't go. King hit the deck. Seeing his first action here this afternoon. George King's gotten limited time here in Vegas, 4 points a game. Has shot 7 of 11 coming in. Second round pick out of Colorado. And he's signed a two-way deal with the Suns already. Here's Bender. Not been very close on those three-pointers so far.
Yeah, not at all. And he running down the floor, he looked like he's grabbing his right hamstring. So I don't know if he's tweaked something or.
Maverick Rowan knocks down the three in the corner out of North Carolina State. There's Mikal Bridges, wearing number 25, also on the floor now for Phoenix. King will try the jumper.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges, you know, Matt, is going to be an interesting player for the Suns in terms of what they expect from him. He's basically a system-type player. So in an environment like this, he may not show well until he's had times and repetitions with, you know, an entire team. The guy that projects is a very good defender. Three-point shooter.
Excuse me, Stu. Raphael Putney just shed himself a Dragan Bender and made the jumper. They're buzzing here in Vegas.
Had him on skates.
Summer League continues tonight in Las Vegas on ESPNU and the ESPN app. Got the Timberwolves and the Nuggets coming up at 8 Eastern time. Kings and the Golden State Warriors at 10 o'clock Eastern time. And here we've got a 10-7 Spurs lead before the break. Raphael Putney shook Dragan Bender, who hit the floor and knocked down a jumper to give Spurs that 3-point advantage. And thinking of Bender moving forward into his third NBA season, you mentioned how young he was. He was the youngest player in the draft a couple of summers back. He is a stretch four, at least that's how he projects in the NBA. And not a bad three-point shooter, about 36%. The question for me is going to be, what else can Bender do at the NBA level to make himself valuable out there?
Well, I know you hit the nail on the head. Can he rebound the basketball? Can he be a little bit of a defensive presence? I think will go a long way into answering that question. Because yes, he can shoot the basketball. He'll continue to improve in that area, but it's the other parts of his game that need to come together, along with his ability to shoot the ball, that really will determine whether or not he becomes a consistent, NBA player.
Bender's going to have a seat, as well as Mikal Bridges, who just hit that three-pointer to tie it up at 10. Javonte Green comes in for Phoenix, and Devon Reed. Here's George King. Good spin move to get into the paint. Lost the ball. It's going to be a travel.
Yeah, he got a little bit out ahead of himself there. It brings up the point here, Matt. A lot of these young players, when they're getting some of their first NBA action, they're looking, that game seems so much faster to them. And the trick is, can you learn to apply your skills and slow the game down for yourself so that you can stay productive?
Hamlin didn't wait for the screen, took it himself. It rolls off, and eventually to George King in the open floor. Alec Peters for three. Trailer three is good for Peters, and the Suns are up by 3.
Yeah, shot there by Peters. Made 20 appearances last year for the Suns.
Also spent 35 games with their G League affiliate, Northern Arizona, where he shot it at nearly 47% and 41% from three-point range,
which was on display in that last possession.
Here's Rowan.
We were talking about this yesterday, Matt. Is Ledbetter the oldest player in this year's Summer League? Another piece of trivia for you.
I don't know the answer to that.
30 years old.
Is he the oldest?
Yes, he is. At 30
You're
years
telling
old.
me he's the oldest. So you're
Yes,
not
I'm
asking
telling
me.
you.
Okay.
So we have Cooley in the game with the most games, and we have the oldest participant,
Jeff Ledbetter. I have seen older Summer League players before. I wasn't certain if he would be the oldest in this year's edition.
Yeah.
You don't get many 30-year-olds in Summer League, but once in a while, it happens. Just turned 30 last month. Hamlin. And a low-scoring quarter comes to an end, just 13-13. A defensive battle, you might say. We'll hear from DeAndre Ayton on the other side.
Or shooting.
One of those two. That's next. All 31% shooting for the Suns, 25% shooting for the Spurs so far. The offense is bound to get better moving forward. The Suns certainly would benefit from DeAndre Ayton, who is sitting out today, but that affords him a chance to speak with Kristen.
We're arranging our feet right now. If he stands a little bit shorter, I stand a little bit taller. I look significantly taller than I am standing next to the #1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton. Is it possible to sum up the whirlwind that has been your life in the last month?
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. A lot of emotions is going around being on the floor, especially playing in front of the Phoenix Suns fans out here in Las Vegas. We just wanted to win as many games as possible and really put on the show.
As you sum up your summer league stint, what is it that you've learned about making this transition to the NBA?
Most definitely the physicality down low. Getting offensive boards or boxing up for a rebound. It's a lot of physicality down there. And just really defensive end and guarding the post. Everybody's pretty strong on the floor.
Devin Booker has signed an extension with the franchise. What are you most looking forward to about playing alongside him?
Just really having the best chemistry as possible. Just really knowing each other's personnel and just having fun on the court.
You've talked about being a rookie of the year, an all-star out of the gate. Where is this confidence stemming from so early on?
That's the type of expectations I keep for myself. That's some of the goals I keep for myself coming in. Just going throughout my career. And the greatest players do it. They keep that type standards for themselves. They just keep themselves accountable.
And if you were to define success for the Suns this season, how would you define it?
Win as many games as possible. Last year we didn't win as many games as they wanted to, but I think we have the team. We have as much veterans on the team and the experience on the team to really go out there and win as many games.
Congratulations. Thanks for stepping down on the not many people make me look short. I'm not going to lie to you. We are so looking forward to your NBA debut. Congrats. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Guys.
Kristen has good size for a sideline reporter, and as you know, you can't teach size.
Yeah, no, you can't. And, young man had a very good summer. I think gave the fans, as he said, a taste of what's to come in Phoenix. And seems very humble. Willingness to learn a lot, and we look forward to many years with DeAndre Ayton. Listen, those numbers speak for themselves. He averaged the double-double here in the summer league, which is what you would expect from your first-round pick.
Now, he did say that he and Devin Booker are going to be the new Shaq and Kobe, so I don't know about the humility part, but
well,
he's a confident young man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think early on in his NBA season, he'll understand the work that Shaquille O'Neal actually put in to become the player that he did. I mean, listen, he's going to struggle at first. I mean, without question, as many of these first-round picks will be. But you can't be a great player unless you've got great confidence in your ability. And there's nothing wrong with, DeAndre Ayton's dream to be Shaquille O'Neal.
Lots to be confident about with his size, his mobility, his skill set. It's interesting he did not take a three here in Las Vegas, because that was part of the buildup of DeAndre Ayton and his ability to shoot it a little bit. 34% in the college three last season.
We talked about this a little bit earlier. I do think we'll eventually see him take and make three-point shots at this level. He's got a beautiful looking stroke. Ayton does.
Reed with the jumper there for Phoenix. Ayton was a first-team All-American, and I don't feel like there was much doubt, certainly not within the Phoenix organization, but really among scouts and observers and folks who evaluate prospects about who the #1 pick was going to be and who it should be. It's pretty much consensus that DeAndre Ayton is going to be that guy.
Yeah, no question.
Alec Peters with another made three. The offense is picked up here, and it's Phoenix 5-5. This in the last like 30 seconds you're talking about it? Well, since DeAndre Ayton will make the comparison, so will we. Ayton and Booker versus Shaq and Kobe. Ayton and Shaq, both first overall picks, both 7-1. Okay, checks out. Kobe, Devin Booker, 13th overall picks, both 6'6". Wait a minute. Boy, he may be onto something.
Interesting.
He may be onto something.
Except
Booker's got the paycheck coming up like Kobe. He's got that $158 million extension.
But let's go further in the tail of the tape there, Matt.
Oh, you want to continue?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not trying to
5
ruin
championships,
the production
0.
crew did good work on that.
that was
early.
Good.
It's early in their careers.
Yeah.
They couldn't have 5 championships. Ayton hasn't even played a game yet.
But that's where this comparison separates, and we hope that Booker Ayton becomes a Kobe Shaq comparison.
Well, of course,
down the road.
The Suns would love to have a three-peat at some point along the way. They'd love to have one out of those two.
And an 81-point game by Booker. He's
got a 70.
He's got a 70.
Yeah. Didn't even throw that in there.
And Ayton will have to learn to say, "Can you dig it?"
Big cheer for Jack Cooley.
Jack.
Ayton will have to learn to say what? Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
I think he should come up with his own thing. I think he will too. He's got a great personality, and not that that's the determining factor when you're bringing in a #1 overall pick. It doesn't hurt. have a guy who is not camera shy, who is that confident, enjoys himself. There's a little Joel Embiid in DeAndre Ayton's personality.
Well, Joel Embiid does not like the DeAndre Ayton comparisons, evidenced by his messaging on social media.
That's okay. He doesn't have to. Joel lets you know how he feels.
Well, you know, the social media aspect, it's really changed the game, don't you think? Or the entertainment around the game.
It's certainly made executives nervous. I know that. It's something they have to monitor now. What are our guys saying now? Is it, did they say something just fun? Did they say something that's going to cause a problem?
You know, it's
is
interesting. I mean, it's affected, though, I think, players' psyche. And I'm not so sure that, you know, with young players, the best advice is to go the LeBron route and stay away from it for periods of time during the regular season. I mean, even at the collegiate level now, coaches will tell you that young players, after games, will go, the first place they go is they go check to see how they did on social media rather than an evaluation from the coach. In other words, the social media court of public opinion becomes more important than actually how you play.
It's amazing.
It's amazing what's happening.
It is amazing. Well, anybody in basketball or not can drive themselves crazy if you spend too much time monitoring what other people are saying about you on social media. No matter what you do. Easy to lose focus on the thing you're trying to do. It's also interesting the back and forth between the players on all kinds of things during the season.
Yeah.
Reactions to big games, reactions to signings, to trades. Lots of reaction yesterday to the Isaiah Thomas signing, for instance.
Yeah, and it's not all negative. I mean, I love when the players go back and forth and, you know, root for one another in their performances or acknowledge, you know, great efforts. I think that's
outpourings of
stuff.
support when somebody is hurt. You see it immediately.
Yeah. That piece of it, I think, is terrific.
Prima with a dunk, and that'll end the 10-0 Phoenix run. He was calling for that ball. Here's Peters, 3 of 3, make it 4 of 4.
I think this is getting a little bit like instant replay with Peters.
Same spot.
Same spot, same stroke, same result.
An 11-point lead is the largest of the game so far. And it's a Spurs turnover. As Peters was over there defensively. Kings will have a chance to add to it.
Yeah, here you see the drive. It's a good call by the official. The defender established a legal guarding position, and the offensive player went through the defender. Easy charge call.
Peters was a second-round pick last year by the Suns. Reed got loose and gets the layup.
The unfortunate part is the Spurs are at a real crucial time in this game, or we could be looking at a blowout here if they don't finish the quarter strongly here.
There's Putney over Peters. Rowan with the offensive board and shows the touch on the jumper from about 8 feet. Igor Kokoshkov, the new Phoenix Suns head coach, working the sidelines here in Las Vegas as well, calls out a play for his young sons. Harrison to the rim.
Good take there by Harrison. I mean, you can tell with Harrison that, you know, he's had some NBA experience. Just his athleticism, the speed at which he plays, the force at which he plays the game is a little bit different than most players on the floor.
Tommy Hamilton with the miss. He traveled after the offensive board. Phoenix pulling away here, and they lead it by 13. That makes sense. Like Jamie Moyer. Remember Jamie Moyer, the pitcher?
Yep.
Well, the Suns have pulled away here in the second quarter, and Alec Peters has had a lot to do with that. I checked with the Elias Sports Bureau, and 4 of 4 from three-point range is good.
Is it still 1,000%?
Yes. It's still considered perfect.
Well, we talked about Alex and the shots he were making, and we said it's like instant replay because 3 of his 4 shots are from the exact same spot.
All from within about 4 feet of each other. Something the Spurs may want to touch on in a huddle.
Perhaps actually defending that set.
Yeah, maybe just get a guy there. The 30-year-old Jeff Ledbetter, ponytail flying. Running the offense for the Spurs. Here's Olivier Hanlon over to Rowan. And Reed collects the rebound for Phoenix. Shaq Harrison brings it up for the Suns with just a little over 90 seconds to go here before halftime. Suns are plus 13 in this quarter. They get plus 15 in this quarter.
Spurs are getting a little bit outworked here, aside from getting outplayed offensively.
Hamlin off the back rim. Putney chases it down. A lot of jump shots for the Spurs.
Yeah, in
the second quarter.
And if you're the Spurs, that's not the way you're going to get back in the basketball game. You're going to have to get higher quality shots.
Something for them to discuss here in the final minute of the first half. Phoenix has built a 15-point lead. Back in Las Vegas, Phoenix up 37-22 as they pulled away here in the second quarter. Spurs are shooting just 27% so far. Make it 25% now as you look at some of the notable finds for the Spurs in the second round of the NBA draft, including some guys who haven't even played for them. Dewan Blair was their pick. Goran Dragic also their pick back in 2008.
Yeah, and the two most notable there actually stick out to me are the Ginobili pick and the Dragic pick because they were picked so low and went on to become all-star level players.
Right. Under a minute to go here in the second quarter. Suns get it to George King out of the corner. That wouldn't go, but it's chased down by Shaquille Harrison. Peters from that spot again, and he shuffled the feet. Spurs finally got a defender out there.
Yeah,
it was Putney. Not going to let that happen again.
It's funny how that happens because the defender put Peters in a position where he had to do something that perhaps he's not as good at. If he can catch and shoot, he's fine, but having to put the ball on the floor had a little bit different result. Good for the Spurs.
Ledbetter lost it. Green ahead of the pack, and he'll flush it. And the Spurs are just waiting for this half to end at this point. Offensive execution just hasn't been there.
If this were a heavyweight boxing match, they would throw in the towel here.
It's only their 7th turnover of the half. It's really just been shot selection and execution. And some Phoenix defense there. Green. Beat the buzzer and got it.
Yes, sir.
Adding insult to injury for the Spurs. Javonte Green took on the buzzer and he beat it to make the lead 20 here at the half. Suns plus 20 in the second quarter and plus 20 for the half. They lead it 42-22 at the break.
Welcome back to Las Vegas, and a 20-point lead for the Suns over the Spurs here at halftime. Kristen Ledlow, Mark Jackson, an NBA player, coach, analyst. So what is it that you're watching for in a summer league stint?
Well, you never know. You're looking at talent, player-wise. I'm here with my 2 youngest kids. My daughter's actually working it, so just here enjoying the fantastic game that's been so good to me. And also, you're watching the coaches, the young coaches, the job they're doing on each of these staffs. So you learn a lot. Even when you think nobody's watching, somebody's watching.
What do you see as the transferable qualities from a summer league stint to the NBA?
To me, the one thing that transfers the most is a motor, the competitive spirit, competitive drive. If you're able to do it in a gym like this, it'll transfer into the regular season and bigger moments.
If you were able to give any of these young guys who are essentially in a job interview right now some advice, what would it be?
The most important thing I learned, because I was in their position at one point, was believing in your ability, having confidence. The same thing that made you successful on a lower AAU level or a high school level or a college level is the same thing that will make you successful on this level. Remain confident, put the time in, and things work out.
Kevin Knox will very likely be in the Rookie of the Year conversation this coming season. If he were to win, he'd be the first Knick to do so since you. What impresses you the most about his game?
Did you say you wing?
No. Well,
I'm here all week. No pun intended.
You set the comedic bar so high, Coach.
I will tell you this, it'd be a heck of an accomplishment. He's an outstanding young talent. The Knicks hit a home run as far as that pick is concerned. In my opinion, with all due respect, he wasn't the 9th best player or whatever pick they had. He's better than guys that went ahead of him. He's a big-time talent that can score right away, and the New York City fans are going to love him.
It's difficult to analyze the talent before we see them actually step onto an NBA floor, but is there any other rookie that stands out to you as that guy could be the Rookie of the Year?
I think you look across the board, there's been guys that have impacted the game. You look at Colin Saxon, you look at Trey Young, their ability to make plays and score, their ability they're going to play on teams that they're going to have opportunities early on in this season to play. That's important also. And you look at Carter from the Bulls, the impact he's had, a big live body, Aiden for Phoenix. It's absolutely wide open. It's going to be a fun class to watch all year long.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I have learned so much from you for so many years, and I am so thankful.
The check's in the mail. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and leave it at that. Mark Jackson, I'm Kristen Ledlow. We'll be back with the third quarter here in Las Vegas next.
Welcome back to the MGM Resorts NBA Summer League. All Suns in the second quarter as they outscored San Antonio 29-9 to take a 20-point halftime lead. Ready to start the third here from Las Vegas on Friday the 13th. Matt Weiner, Stu Jackson, Kristen Ledlow. Stu, are you a superstitious guy? Do you worry about such things? Friday the 13th?
No, I don't. I don't need that that kind of noise and uncertainty in my life.
So you're saying it bothers you a little bit, just enough to think about?
Yeah, and this game hasn't helped. I mean, we were very unlucky here with a 20-point blowout so far, and I'm starting to, feel like the 13th had something to do with it. And I know Kristen doesn't like the 13th.
To quote Michael Scott, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
A little stitious. That's cute.
Well, 24 was
you come up with that on your own.
I set the comedic bar so high. Join me, won't you?
24 was certainly an unlucky number for the Spurs in the first half. That was their shooting percentage. 24.3 to be exact. 9 of 37 from the field. And we touched on it before halftime. A lot of jump shots and a lot of misses.
Well, let's put this in perspective. Not only did they shoot 24% from the field to the Suns 50, they shot 21% from the three-point line. The Suns shot 50. They got out rebounded 24-15. There's nothing good going on in this game for the Spurs right now.
There's opportunity. There is that. They have that moving forward.
In their defense, though, Matt, I mean, listen, they've lost some key players. They were shorthanded in yesterday's game. There's no Derek White. There's no Lonnie Walker. There's no Chemezi Metu. And today, Jerome Blossingame, who is playing, isn't having one of his better games. So it's been a tough go.
Well, they've also spread out the minutes here. So Blossingame, who's been very good for them, only played 10 minutes in the first half. He is starting here in the third quarter. See if he can get it going. But he only took 3 shots in that first half. The Spurs played 12 players in the first half, as opposed to the 9 that the Suns deployed. Shaq Harrison reverses course back the other way. Cooley can't finish, and it's a shot clock violation. That ball did not touch the rim.
I'll tell you, Shaq Harrison, that was a heck of a play as the shot clock was winding down. Unfortunately, Cooley mishandled it. Couldn't get a good shot off.
See Blossingame, who's averaged 15 a game here and shot the ball exceptionally well. Just hasn't really gotten into an offensive flow here. And part of that is, again, the Spurs are shuffling players in and out here. Not much of any, really no continuity in this game for them.
I liked Blossingame coming out of Clemson. The interesting thing about him, he ended up staying for an extra season at Clemson. But had he come out in the draft the year prior to that, he probably would have been a late first round, early second round pick. And much to everybody's surprise, he went back to school and then ended up becoming the 59th pick overall the following year.
And that was Blossingame rattling in the jump shot, so maybe he'll get something going here offensively. You see that from time to time. That was the case probably with Grayson Allen, who was picked by Utah in the 20s in this year's draft. 2 years ago, probably would have been a lottery pick.
Yeah, no. You don't know whether it's because the class that they end up entering in the draft gets better.
Right.
Or does it give NBA types and scouts around the league an opportunity to pick apart your game?
The evaluation changes, yeah.
Yeah, and your evaluation changes. I don't know the answer to that, but I guess it's a lesson in you got to enter the draft while the iron's hot.
Peters is off at the 3. Cooley working the boards there, but he's There's a loose ball foul, and now a technical foul on London Parantes. So Peters will go to the free throw line. You hear often about players who've come to the NBA and not succeeded. Well, he came out too early. Sometimes he came out at just the right time to cash in on his potential and just wasn't good enough to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the argument for coming out sooner rather than later.
It's an interesting argument too, Matt. You know, this notion of coming out too early, because on one hand, I think some players do benefit from that extra year of emotional and physical maturity when they're in college. But the flip side is, and it does cut both ways, is that the sooner you come into the NBA, you're able to more concentrate on your skill development without, you know, going to class and doing those types of things and playing in an NBA system. And it's a hard one to sort of figure out. And I think it's just an individual decision and situation for each player as to what the right decision is. And, you know, it varies.
And sometimes there are players who have athletic potential, but as you alluded to, are exposed the longer they play basketball. So at the college level, a second or third year is not beneficial in terms of their draft prospects. A little better offense from the Spurs there, but Phoenix had the defensive answer, and Harrison pushes back the other way. Mikal Bridges off on the corner three. Take another timeout. Spurs cut into the lead a little bit, but some work to do here, down by 17. Doncic was 3.
Yeah.
So he's one of those. He's one of those 5. So we're going right to that. Yep. Back in Las Vegas, as you take a look at the #1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton, one and done guy out of Arizona, and of course that is the trend these days. The last 9 #1 picks have been one and done guys. In fact, 22 of the last 27 top 3 picks have been one and done players, and 8 of the first 10 in this year's draft were all 1 year in college and off to the NBA players. Phoenix led by 20 at the half. It's 17 now.
You know, following up on that, Matt, you know, it's interesting. The NBA draft for many years now has been upside down on its head. You know, you look at this year's draft, and you've got 9 of the first 11 players taken that are one and done players, and the 10th player was Luka Doncic, who's 19 years old. But it's become a draft that is based upon speculation and upside, and oftentimes that you can actually find players that are a little bit more ready, sometimes more productive earlier on, later in the first round, early in the second round. So it's just an interesting dilemma that's taking place in the league.
And by the way, one of those 2 picks is in this game. Mikal Bridges, one of those 2 non-one-and-done guys. Mikal Bridges, 10th overall pick after a full career at Villanova, including a pair of national championships. Another turnover by the Spurs. Numbers for Phoenix, but botched fast break. That did not go the Suns' way.
Yeah.
There was a lot wrong with that fast break.
There was a lot going on there, Matt. I mean, we have flying passes in the air and passes from out of bounds into the corner.
There's a lot happening. Very little of it was positive for the Suns. A little more decisive sets from the Spurs here in the third quarter, trying to generate some offense.
Well, yeah, and if you're the Spurs coaching staff, your objective right now is to make sure that you finish this game, quote unquote, the right way in terms of trying to run good offense, play unselfishly, play hard. Because these players are not out here just only to make the Suns team. We mentioned a little bit earlier, they're out here showcasing themselves for, you know, a lot of scouts from around the globe, and it's important that they play well, play hard, and play the right way.
It's Jordan Green to the free throw line. Played 34 games with the Austin Spurs last season. Averaged 4 a game. Undrafted after a full 4-year career at Texas A&M. He is Danny Green's cousin. Danny Green, the longtime Spur.
A lot of fans forget, you know, Danny Green had his own struggles very early in his NBA career.
That's right. He was a bit of a journeyman before he landed in San Antonio.
I believe he was even waived twice.
Yeah, he was. Cleveland. I'm forgetting his other stop. And then wound up being a 3-and-D guy who went crazy in the NBA Finals from the three-point line.
You have the Harrison drive. Terrific block there.
It's Emil Jefferson with the block. Corey Jefferson, excuse me. Corey Jefferson has 58 games NBA experience under his belt with Brooklyn and with the Phoenix Suns. Perantis into traffic, puts it up high for Jefferson. Tried to sort of tip that ball up there. McKinney Jones in the open floor to Green. And did he step out of bounds? He did.
Boy, for coaches, there's nothing that drives you crazier than a player not being aware of floor spacing and where he is on the floor.
Hey, be sure to download the NBA app to keep up with all things Summer League. You can get your highlights, your scores, schedules with the click of a button to stay in the know with NBA Summer League. Are you chuckling at me?
No, I was not. There was someone in my ear.
Someone?
Yes, our producer, who unfortunately made me chuckle.
Here's Green, who had that buzzer beater just before the half. Comes up empty on that trip. Perantis shakes himself free and knocks down the deep two.
Very strong move, step back by Perantis.
First bucket of the afternoon for London Perantis out of Virginia. Two-way player last season with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Here's King with a floater. George King knocks it down.
All right, King. Was that his first bucket?
First bucket for King.
First bucket in the NBA there. Well, I guess he's played previously, but this is his second game.
Yeah. 19-point contest here next door 2-point game. Late in the fourth quarter, the Mavericks hanging on to a 2-point lead over the Washington Wizards with 3 minutes to change, or 3 minutes and change. It's happening on ESPNU. Peramontes ignored the pick from Brima, gets another one from Drew Eubanks. Probing, and a pretty lefty finish from London Peramontes.
Beautiful move to set up the left-hand finish.
Green steps in defensively, couldn't keep it in bounds. Peramontes played 14 games with the Cavaliers, obviously a championship contender. Not a lot of minutes available for him last season. Played another 35 games with the Cavaliers G League affiliate in Canton.
Peramontes has always been a low turnover guy, man. You know, he has a good ability to run a club, doesn't turn it over, gets the team in the offense, can make an open shot.
Really good college career at Virginia, where they value the basketball and where turnovers are frowned upon. Chris Jenkins was trying to get it to Eubanks, cutting, and it's a foul. And a side out with 14 on the shot clock. Chris Jenkins will inbound, the hero from Villanova's national championship a couple of years back. Ledbetter uses his strength on that drive.
This occurred to me, all three players involved in that game-winning shot at Villanova, Ryan Arcidiacono, Daniel Ashefu, and Chris Jenkins, all here at the Las Vegas Summer League.
Yes, I've seen all three play in person. Yeah. We saw Arcidiacono and Jalen Brunson guarding each other here a day or two ago, as they must have done in practice over and over again.
Many times.
Drew Eubanks to the left hand, and it falls for Eubanks out of Oregon State.
Nice little lefty scoop shot.
Odiasi over the left shoulder.
And Brima let him get that good post position.
Oh, then a make by Maverick Rowan. He's fouled on the shot. Much needed offense for the San Antonio Spurs, and a chance to add to it when we come back.
Bridges.
Summer League continues tonight in Las Vegas on NBA TV and the ESPN app. Mo Bamba's Orlando Magic and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Trae Young's Atlanta Hawks and the LA Clippers also ahead. Mikal Bridges has just walked off the floor a moment ago. Take a look at Mo Bamba. See if we can find out what's happening with Bridges. He appeared to have a bit of a limp as he left the floor.
Obama must just like to see good basketball, huh?
Why not? He's a fan. Bridges 1 of 4 for 5 points in this game, and hopefully it's nothing, at least nothing significant. Much better ball movement and player movement in this third quarter for the Spurs. That's how they've been able to cut into this lead at least a little bit. Was 20 at the half and now 14. Here's Reed.
That kind of takes the wind out of your sails, though. You've cut the league back to 14 and have a fairly good defensive possession.
That's 9 points now for Reed. Jenkins looking for Blima inside. That's picked off.
Good defense.
Shaquille Harrison got there, and he's fouled in the open floor.
You know, just sitting here watching it, the X factor in this game really is Shaquille Harrison. I mean, we mentioned it earlier. He's playing at a little bit different level than a lot of the guys on the floor, and particularly has shown defensively to be really disruptive. So every time the Spurs try to get a run some good offense, it seems like Harrison makes an athletic play to end the possession.
7, 5 rebounds and 6 assists so far for Harrison. And Stu, you just see the difference between the guys with NBA experience and the guys who are seeing all this for the first time. It just shows up on the floor.
It really does, and but that's why a guy like Harrison has played as many games already in his early career. 23 games last year with the Suns, another 36 in the G League. It's just a little bit more experience with these guys, but I'll tell you what, I like his promise just simply because of his athletic ability. He's a big, strong guard. He's 6'4", 190 pounds, pretty good size for a point guard. May have a future, if not with Phoenix, with somebody else.
You also see the veteran guys who come over from Europe who are 25, 26, who know their games. It's interesting to see how they play in these summer league games.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why everyone's so high on Luka Doncic. You know, although he's a young player, he's played against more experienced players, older players, and been successful.
And he's been a pro for 4 seasons in Real Madrid at the age of 19. It is one advantage that the European players have over the U.S. guys is that is their job.
Yeah.
I mean, Ricky Rubio was a pro, I believe, at 14, if I recall. And in Doncic's case, you're talking about him playing against grown men when he was 16 years of age and doing nothing but playing ball.
Yeah, and I know Doncic is only one player, but it really begs the question about our own youth skill development in this country. You know, as opposed to the European model and the club system.
The club system, right?
You know, where you play less games at an earlier age, you spend more time in practice, and you're playing competitively against older players.
Right.
I mean, there's something to be said for that.
But Adam Silver has talked about that as you take a look at some of what Doncic can do.
I think he's going to be a terrific player in our league. You know, in an odd kind of way, I think he is a perfect fit for Dennis Smith with the Mavs. you know, Dennis Smith a little bit, obviously a lot smaller.
Yep.
Explosive.
Right.
A scoring point guard. But now the Mavs going forward will have the ability to put the ball in Doncic's hand and run the basketball team. I'm not saying right away, but eventually.
Right. Sure.
And allow Dennis Smith to play a little bit off the ball, where he can utilize that scoring ability. I think, and plus defensively, Doncic can guard bigger guards.
Right.
Smith can guard smaller point guards. And I think in a strange kind of way, it may work.
That is going to be a question for Doncic, of course, at the NBA level, is who does he guard and how effectively does he guard? He's going to be guarding wings, you would think, 2s and 3s. Peters running the break. He gets it back and flushes it home. And that's a good-looking fast break for the Phoenix Suns.
That's a good-looking fast break. And you talk about decisions. Harris, you know, passes up a layup for a better shot, an uncontested one by Peters.
Good finish for Phoenix. They wrap up the quarter with a 13-0 run, and that Spurs momentum midway through the quarter is a thing of the past. Peters with the finish, a 24-point lead through 3. Game. Harrison's plus 32. Suns win that quarter as well, 23-19, and they are dominating now with their biggest lead of the game. It's 24. Good to have you with us here on a Friday afternoon from Las Vegas. Along with Kristen Ludlow and Stu Jackson, I'm Matt Weiner. All Suns since the second quarter. Raphael Putney got to the rim, couldn't finish, and it's Prima with the putback from San Antonio.
Yeah. And the Spurs, I mean, on the positive side, it's a big deficit here, 22 points, but they're still giving good effort out here. It's just they're a little bit outmanned, outmatched. They don't have some of the primary players with them.
Let's go over to Kristen Ludlow for an update on Mikal Bridges.
Matt, I did speak with a member of the Suns staff as we saw him limp to the locker room. He told me it's a knee contusion. He won't return to this game, but it's not an injury that's expected to impact him long term.
Okay, that's good news for the Suns, obviously. Keeping everybody healthy on their way back to Phoenix. Shaquille Harrison, who is plus 32 through 3 quarters in this game. Here's Peters. That was intercepted.
Well, in watching the game, it looks like he's had a profound effect on this basketball game on both ends, offensively and especially defensively. So the data backs up what we're seeing.
Galir Hollis-Jefferson, strong drive. And Monday's older brother is on the board with his first bucket of the afternoon. Corey Jefferson off on the 3. Back comes Shaquille Harrison.
That's a nice pass.
Hollis Jefferson set up Reed, couldn't finish the three. There's Putney, runs into Peters, who will pick up the foul. One thing the Spurs have done better here since the early part of this game is account for Peters at the top of the circle on that three. He's drawn attention after knocking down his first four.
Well, what they've done, they've taken Peters a little bit out of his comfort zone. You know, you know, rather than just making him a standstill shooter, they're making him try to do other things within the offense and make his life a little bit more difficult. But all that being said, you know, Peters is plus 27.
Plus 27.
Harrison plus 32. Cooley,
Jack Cooley plus 26.
our summer league veteran. And Devon Reed plus 27.
Still a 2-point game next door over at Cox Pavilion with 5.5 seconds to go. Dallas hanging on to a 94-92 lead. And a chance to add to it at the free throw line. Suns trying to get something going offensively here. See what they can do with a broken play. Hollis Jefferson, no. Cooley with the tip. Jack Cooley, if you weren't with us at the top of the broadcast, has tied a summer league record by appearing in his 32nd game. 6th straight year he is here in summer league. Dallas has wrapped up that win with a 96-92 victory. Peters, that's his spot, can't connect that time. Harrison will try it.
Oh, geez. Shaquille Harrison.
Harrison has, in many ways, dominated this game. Likewise, the Suns all over San Antonio. Been all Suns, and they've done a lot of their damage from beyond the three-point line, where they've knocked down 11 in 24 attempts.
Yeah, and that's in direct contrast to the San Antonio Spurs, who have only knocked down 5 in 22 attempts, and is a large part of the story in this basketball game.
Back to live action here in Las Vegas. Raphael Putney with the drive. Jack Cooley collects the rebound. Knocked out of his hands, but it'll stay with the Phoenix Suns, who since a, how should we put it, slow 13-13 first quarter, a muddied first quarter offensively between these two teams.
A lot of times what happens to these teams, though, Matt, you know, when you play this many games in a short amount of time, some days you come out and your legs just aren't there. and it takes you a quarter or two to get yourself going.
Yeah.
And certainly in the Suns' case.
The Suns got going.
Yeah.
The Spurs never really have. Trey McKinney-Jones with the jumper. San Antonio still shooting around 30% for this game. Harrison, good look to find Cooley driving to the basket, and he's fouled at the rim. It's a really well executed pass to the cutting Cooley.
Yeah, it's a pinpoint pass, and the thing about Harrison that is different than a lot of the younger guards or first-year guards we've seen in summer league is that, you know, he's extremely fast and plays really quick, but in situations like that, he paces and just waits for opportunities to open. That time was a nice pocket pass into Cooley that led to the foul. Part of being a good point guard is just learning to play with tempo and pace and knowing when to go fast, when to slow down.
How many point guards come into the league with that understanding? Because you do see players of all positions, but more importantly with the point guards who are just going 100 miles per hour every time they touch the ball.
I think very few of them come in with that, because all players at all positions, when they enter this level, the game seems so fast, and oftentimes you get point guards trying to counteract the speed of the game by going faster. When in reality, very good point guards know how to tempo the game, when to, you know, when to accelerate, when to decelerate in an effort to try to run their team better. So I think very few come in with it, but you have to learn it if you're going to survive in this league and actually have a coach or a franchise turn their franchise and team over to you.
A foul on the Spurs, and that'll give San Antonio a chance to swap out everybody. Whole new lineup coming in for the Spurs. They really have distributed their minutes throughout the summer league here. Sometimes you'll see different approaches to that by different teams. Some teams will decide to change up their starting lineups, feature certain players, and then maybe not play them at all a game. Spurs really just kind of played everybody. Rowan with a floater on the baseline. Maverick Rowan. Cooley couldn't make the shot, but Green comes in and follows up, and it's a 30-point lead for the Suns. Foul by Green. Jack Cooley walks off after his 32nd summer league game. 10 points, 9 boards.
Good afternoon.
And off to the next phase of his career, wherever it takes him. Hollis Jefferson gets the pick. I think he was going for a lob there.
I think he was as well. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, man.
Just couldn't connect with Ty Odiasi. He's got better touch than that. That had to be a lob.
Yeah.
You know, Stu, we haven't even discussed the Kawhi Leonard situation, which hangs over everything to do with the San Antonio Spurs. Really, the organization is in limbo until that's resolved one way or the other. Folks know the story by now. Leonard played just 9 games last season. Quadriceps tendinopathy. A pesky injury for him to resolve disagreement over how it should be treated and by whom. And then reports surfaced that Leonard and his camp wanted him playing elsewhere. Greg Popovich traveled to California. Odiasi couldn't connect on the lob dunk. Greg Popovich traveled to California. Try to resolve it. We'll pick up that part of the story when we come back. Suns wrapping up an easy afternoon. Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to Las Vegas. All Suns here about to wrap up a win on a Friday afternoon. We were discussing the Kawhi Leonard situation, which hangs over the San Antonio Spurs organization. That I was saying before the break, Greg Popovich made the visit to California. They met face to face. We haven't heard much about what was said or if anything was resolved, but what seems clear is that Leonard still is not interested in continuing his career in San Antonio, which leaves the Spurs some interesting options in terms of what to do with him. They don't have to trade him right now. He's a free agent next summer, not this summer. But as you know, his value will fluctuate depending on where they are in the season and who's interested. So what to do if you're R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich now with your star player?
Yeah, this is a high stakes game for the San Antonio Spurs at this point, because you hit it on the head. You know, if they elect to, if Kawhi does not want to continue with the San Antonio Spurs, the Spurs are basically left with the option of rebuilding. Right. Because any trade that takes place with Kawhi and another NBA club is going to involve getting back younger and many younger assets in the way of players and draft picks, but it puts your franchise, the Spurs that is, in a situation where you're rebuilding. And that would be sad, I think. So my own personal hope is that somehow they're able to have a meeting of the minds and repair that relationship. But if not, I don't think the Spurs have any choice but to trade him before the deadline, or even before the season, where they would have a little bit more leverage than they would at the trading deadline next February. But boy, I hope that doesn't happen.
Sure feels like, from the outside at least, that the two sides are beyond any sort of reckoning that would keep Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio. I mean, it seems like that train has left the station, I believe, and it's just a matter of what kind of offer they get here in the summer, or do they roll the dice and wait until the trade deadline in February, when any number of teams might look and say, you know what, we're really close to making the finals in the East, perhaps, and Kawhi Leonard might put us over the top, even if he might walk away in the summertime. Odiasi, as we're having this discussion, is racking up dunks here on lobs.
But you know, the problem you have is the market for Kawhi Leonard is very narrow in terms of teams that actually have the package of assets. There aren't a lot. I mean, you can name them basically on one hand.
Boston, Philadelphia, maybe the Lakers.
Maybe the Lakers. But aside, outside of those teams, I mean, where do you go? And then if you're those teams, if you're Boston or Philadelphia, and we've heard rumors that Kawhi wants to play near his hometown in Southern California, do you run the risk of trading for him and basically renting him for a year where he elects not to re-sign with you when he does become a free agent? I mean, these are all key questions surrounding Kawhi Leonard.
The flip side being the example set by Oklahoma City, which went after Paul George without any guarantee that he might come back, and wound up re-signing him, convincing him that the Thunder was the team for him. But the Spurs potentially face the end of this extraordinary era in which they've reached the postseason 21 straight times. They had that long run of 50-win seasons along the way, and of course 5 NBA championships. These things eventually come to an end.
Yeah.
And we could be seeing the beginning of the end with the silver and black.
Well, and a temporary end. I mean, the Spurs.
Well, the end of that era.
Yeah, of that era.
Yeah.
But
there's Green. There's showtime punctuation point for Javonte Green. Phoenix pulled away in the second quarter and never looked back. And they win it by 35. Javonte Green, the finishing touch for Phoenix.
Emphatic way to end the basketball game.
Green with that dunk finished with 20 to go with 5 rebounds. Alec Peters 17 points, 4 of 7 from 3-point range along the way, and Shaquille Harrison really controlled this game in so many ways. 13.6 rebounds and 7 assists along the way. Offensively, the Spurs could just never get anything going. They shot 31% on the game, including 5 of 25 from 3-point range.
Yeah, they dominated in every facet of the game, and you don't want to take anything away from their victory, but even though the Suns didn't have some of their key players, neither did the San Antonio Spurs. And I just think that physically, much to do with Shaquille Harrison, wore the San Antonio Spurs club down today.
Alec Peters had the feeling early on in this game, and he's standing by with Kristen.
That he did, Matt, and you led what was a very balanced offensive effort. What can be said of the chemistry that this team has built thus far in Vegas?
We had a lot of fun in camp, and I think that's what the most important thing is that you gel and you have fun together leading up to Summer League. And we had a really good week of practice, and then when we got here, obviously we started hot, going 3-0, and really disappointed with the loss yesterday, but we couldn't have bounced back better today with the last game. We all knew it, and it was an opportunity for guys to get more minutes and for us to kind of show a little bit more what we're about, and that's what we did today.
What do you notice has been the biggest difference for you coming out here now with professional experience under your belt?
You just got to stay ready. First 3 games, necessarily the rhythm wasn't there for me, and I knew that the last game, we'd get a little bit more run in, and the first couple go in, everything starts to seem easy, and that was true for a lot of guys. Getting an opportunity, you just got to make the most of it, and that's what I learned my first season, and that was obvious here today.
And during your first season, you split your time with the Suns and the G League affiliate. What are your expectations for your sophomore season?
Right now it's just enjoying this last win, and obviously you want to build on the year before, and I think becoming a more consistent shooter, that's always what I'm going to hang my hat on, is being able to shoot the 3, and I think I can expand my range and I can do a lot more with 1 or 2 dribbles, coming into next year, and we'll see what happens, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking to build off of a good summer.
Congratulations, great game.
Thank you very much,
guys.
Alec Peters hit 4 of the Suns' 11 3-pointers on the game. All from that spot up above the circle. He hit his first 4 of the game, and as you know, Stu, there is that gravity that accompanies shooters when they get hot. He had a big impact on the Phoenix offense here and finished plus 38 on the afternoon. It's a good way to wrap up your summer league.
Yeah, and you look at the shot chart, he obviously has his sweet spots. It's directly in front of the rim and then 2 feet to the left of it, because that's where he took the majority of his 3-point shots. But something he said in the interview that I think that a lot of players could learn from, and that was what he's learned in his first year is that you always have to be ready, right? And he didn't play necessarily up to his capabilities or the way that he wanted to early on. He knew he was going to get some run today and made the most of the opportunity. So if you're sitting here, you know, with the Phoenix Suns brass and you're evaluating Alec Peters, you go, hey, you know what? He still has it. He still has value that he can add to our club as a stretch four. And that's what you want to do. But again, taking advantage of the opportunity is the key in the way to utilize Summer League for yourself as a player.
First Summer League for the Phoenix Suns under head coach Igor Kokoshkov. He coached this team to what turned out to be a 4-1 record here. You heard Alec Peters say they were disappointed they couldn't advance in a 2-point loss against the 76ers here yesterday, but a lot to feel good about as you head back to Phoenix.
Well, yeah, you feel good about it. There's a lot that's happened here at the Summer League for Phoenix. Number one, signing Devin Booker, which is, you know, which occurred during the past week here, is a big, big key. And then you come out here and you look at this collection of young players that they now have, and you have to feel good about where you're heading into training camp. And perhaps they take that next step into competing for a playoff spot in a legitimate way. And, you know, I think the future is extremely bright for this franchise.
That'll wrap it up for the...
My man. What's up, Coach?
How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, doing great.
Good seeing you. Welcome to my part of town.
How the girls doing?
Girls are good. You just missed them.
Did they really?
Olivia's, yeah, she's doing her pony lessons.
Tasha, how's she doing?
She's doing good.
Yeah? Walking yet?
Not yet.
I think the notion is to look at it as every day was like a recruiting process. But it wasn't.
Yep, he's doing good.
Them just being hands-on, being open, being honest, keeping that relationship authentic. I thought everything has just been real. The relationship with Sam, connecting with Russ, I think I really built like a family and a brotherhood in that organization.
My hope would be that your personality continues to help evolve what we have and make it better. The thing that gives me a lot of excitement is, okay, so this era where you and Russell in tandem are leading us forward, like this is where your fingerprints ultimately will be on the legacy of the organization. Mm-hmm. You have an opportunity to take us to heights we've never been at before.
What I love about this mission and being on a mission with Russ is like he's hungry, mm-hmm. like, and he wants it. I want it, and that's what makes it, you know, so special looking at Russ.
All right, take care.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate
We'll talk
it.
soon.
The only way to go about it is to go to Oklahoma and make it official.
You guys knew I threw that anyway.
It's more than just loyalty. It's about doing what I think is right. I feel this is the best and the perfect opportunity to cement myself and to bring a championship, you know, where it hasn't been brought. They've welcomed me with open arms. And I want them to feel that hype that I have towards what I think we can accomplish there. I want to be a part of something that's special and something that I've created. In Oklahoma, I think it's something that I can create there.
Bito! Bito! What's up, Bito? What's up, man? What's up, man? What's up, man? How you doing? How you doing? You all right? Let me see your brain. I got the hat on because I ain't got no hands, so I got
Aside from being one of the best human beings I've been around, his approach to the game is what guys would want to be a part of and build something with.
What's up, OG? Dude, how you feel? Much love. Feel good.